India is facing a looming power crisis as the country wilts under an intense heat wave.
Despite high coal production in India, power plants in India are facing a shortage.
Coal is the real backbone of India's energy needs. More than 70% of India's power supply actually comes from coal in different forms.
The shortage has caused outages lasting hours in multiple states. Power plants are struggling to keep up with the increased power demand as the use of air conditioning and fans skyrockets.
Hi everybody, India is facing one of the worst power crises in its history, and the scariest point is that this power crisis is not something that happens rarely but has been haunting India almost every single year for the past 10 years now. As a result, businesses all across the country are facing lakhs and even crores of losses due to power shortages. And at the macro level, the economy of India itself is taking a hit. Now, when we say power crisis, you might think that maybe India does not have enough energy sources, right? But the fun fact is that India has the 5th largest coal reserve in the world, with 9.5% of the entire world's coal reserve right here in our country itself. We have so much coal that with the existing energy demand, these reserves can power India for 111 years. So the question is, in spite of being one of the largest coal reserve in the world, why is India facing a power crisis? What are the factors that are causing this to happen every single year? And most importantly, as investors, what are the study materials to help you understand the power crisis and its impact on the Indian markets? This video is brought to you by Kuku FM, but more on this at the end of the video. The first thing we need to understand is the power value chain in India and how energy actually comes from the coal mines to your laptop. This value chain includes 4 major steps: power generation, electricity transmission, electricity distribution, and finally trading. The value chain starts with the energy producers who mine and refine fuels that are used in electricity production. This includes all types of energy sources like coal, gas, oil, or even nuclear-based fuels. The fuels are then delivered to the generation facilities where the electricity generator uses the fuel to drive a generator to produce electricity and then to dispatch it to a transmission and distribution system or T&D system. This system distributes the electricity to consumer locations through a transmission and distribution grid, and from here onwards it is transported via energy exchanges or other electronic trading platforms over an extensive network to regional suppliers, and from there to private, public and industrial consumers. Now, in case of Coal India is almost a monopoly company that is owned by the government of India, and this company extracts coal and supplies it to power generation companies. In this case, these companies are thermal power plant companies like Tata Power and Adani Power. Then we have electricity transmission companies, wherein we have both government and private players like Power Grid Corporation of India, which is responsible for interstate transmission of electricity, and Adani Transmission, which is a private player. Then we have distribution companies, which is the highlight of our discussion today. So pay very close attention to this. These companies are called Discoms, which is short form for distribution companies. These are usually government-owned companies that are responsible for distributing electricity to different segments of the country. And to a large extent, even trading is taken care of by the Discoms and smaller trading companies. In simple words, they get electricity at cheaper cost and are supposed to sell it at higher cost, eventually to make a profit. These companies supply or sell electricity to 5 types of consumers, which are agricultural users, industrial users, commercial, domestic and miscellaneous consumers. And this is where the problem comes in. You see this Money Control Pro article, they summed up the power crisis problem of India very well. They stated that it's not a power crisis but a payment crisis that is causing a power crisis. To tell you about it, a peculiar thing that you will note in this supply chain is that Coal India, as in the resource supplier, is extremely profitable because it's obviously a monopoly. Then we have electricity generators like Adani and Tata Power, which are again extremely profitable. And eventually the consumer also gets electricity at an affordable rate. But this segment of Discoms, they are suffering massive losses of tens of thousands of crores every single year. And if you look at the data, you will see that these Discom companies have incurred thousands of crores of losses consecutively. In FY17, they incurred a loss of 33,894 crores. In FY18, they incurred a loss of 27,000 crores. In FY19, this losses amounted to 49,623 crores. And finally, in FY20, they incurred a loss of 32,898 crores. And when these Discom companies suffer losses, what happens? They are not able to pay the power generation companies on time, and then when power generation companies, both government and private, do not get their payment, they are not able to place their orders from Coal India. As a result, they face shortage in inventory. Eventually, they end up producing lesser power than demand. Therefore, this Discom is where the root cause of the problem lies. So the question is, why are these government-run distribution companies in losses? To put that straight, there are three major inefficiencies that are directly responsible for the losses of the Discoms. The first problem is AT&C losses, or aggregate technical and commercial losses. In simple words, when electricity is to be distributed from one place to the other, there is a significant amount of power that goes waste. In this case, this happens in three ways. Number one is theft of electricity, wherein people often have illegal connections for their street food stalls, farms, or sometimes even industries. Then we have commercial losses, which are caused due to inefficient billing and failure to collect pending payments from industries. And lastly, it is the inefficient infrastructure that causes energy losses during transmission. And what is extremely disturbing is that while countries in the UK and even US have AT&C losses of 6 to 7%, in India it's close to 20%. So literally 1/5 of the entire power that we generate is going waste, for which these government-owned companies are incurring thousands of crores of losses. And this brings me to the second problem, which is inefficient and outdated metering system. And for this, the government is actually planning to replace 25 crore conventional meters with smart meters. And guess what? This is such a big problem that with the installation of just 11 lakh smart meters, it resulted into an aggregated revenue increase of 264 crores. So you can imagine, if 11 lakh meters can give you 264 crores of extra revenue, if 25 crore meters are replaced, how much money can be collected? But unfortunately, as of now, these are nothing but piling up losses in the balance sheet. Then we have the third disaster in the making, which are reckless cross subsidies. For those who don't know, cross subsidies basically mean that you supply power to different users at different prices for both benefit and profit. So let's take a simple case to actually understand this. Let's say there are 100 consumers of power, 20 are farmers, 10 are industrial users, 30 are commercial users, and 40 are domestic users. Now Discoms will supply power to each type of user at a different cost. So if Discoms incur a cost of 4 rupees per unit, then for farmers they will sell it at 1 rupee per unit and incur a loss of 3 rupees. For industries, they will sell at 2 rupees per unit to 5 industries that the government wants to promote and incur a loss of 2 rupees per unit. Then for the non-subsidized industries which are well established, the government will sell it at 6 rupees per unit and make a profit of 2 rupees per unit. For domestic users, they will sell it at 6 rupees per unit and make a profit of 2 rupees. And lastly, for commercial players, they will sell it at 6 rupees per unit and make a profit of 2 rupees. So if you see, certain users have been given subsidies while certain users have been charged more. And this is done so that certain sectors are promoted and at the same time, profitability is maintained. But this calculation is extremely complex. So if your subsidized users are very large in number, or if they end up consuming way more electricity than you estimated, then you are going to incur very heavy losses. And at the same time, if your richer users end up consuming lesser electricity than you expected, then your profits are going to go down. And at the same time, as a government, if you increase the cost for subsidized players, since they are very large in number, you might lose votes. So in all, the entire cross-subsidizing is not driven by important factors like requirement and profit, but with vote bank creation and directionless distribution. In fact, this requires cutting-edge data science solution, which can actually help you drive sustainable growth without incurring such heavy losses. But unfortunately, the existing Discoms are far behind all this. And then we have other problems like inefficient tariff setting processes, expensive thermal power purchase agreements, and a lack of modern technology and a proper infrastructure to distribute power. As a result, our Discoms are incurring tens of thousands of crores of losses every single year. And if you look at this Money Control Pro infographic, you will see that Discoms owe 1.1 lakh crore to power generation companies that are both government and private companies. And subsequently, power generation companies owe 12,300 crores to Coal India. So what happens every year is that Thermal power plant companies lose track of their inventory because they have lost cash flow and they're not able to place orders with Coal India. This leads to supply shortages, and at the end of the day, when power demand spikes, it causes power crisis in India almost every single year. This is the reason why you will see that a common line in all these articles describing power crisis emphasizes on inventory shortages of coal at thermal power plants. And lastly, we have the logistics problem, wherein the railways of India has not been able to supply enough goods train to actually transport coal in demand. So now they have cancelled passenger trains just to supply coal. This is the story of India's power crisis. And this brings me to the most important part of the episode, and that are the study materials to help you understand the power crisis problem of India and its impact on the Indian economy. Before we move on, I want to thank our partners Kuku FM for supporting our content. If you're someone who wants to learn business in your own regional language, then I would highly recommend you to listen to the books on Kuku FM app. Kuku FM is India's leading vernacular audio learning platform with over 1000 plus hours of content library, with over 4.5 plus rating and a huge library of non-fiction content. My recent favorite book summaries on their platform are Start With Why and The Act of Negotiation. If these kind of subjects intrigue you, then use the code THINK50 to get a 50% discount on the Kuku FM subscription. This is applicable only for the first 1000 people, so go ahead, use the link in the description and download the Kuku FM app from the link in the description. Moving on, the first thing I'm attaching is this Money Control Pro article that talks about the payment crisis problem that actually caused power crisis in India. The second material that I'm attaching comes from the Energy and Research Institute, which discusses in depth as to how could India actually solve the power crisis problem. And lastly, we have a Niti Aayog report on turning around the power distribution sector in India. And this has got intricate details about the power sector and every single problem that needs to be addressed in India. So do have a look at it and let me know what you think about in the comment section. That's all from my side for today, guys. If you learned something valuable, please make sure to hit the like button and not make YouTube Baba happy. And for more such insightful business and political case studies, please subscribe to our channel. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.